Good evening, everybody.
Evening, Connor.
We'll wait a few minutes. We still don't have enough for a quorum and we're a little early.
What's a quorum, 13?
I think 11 is a quorum.
11?
Yeah. And we're well short of that right now.
Yep.
Try grabbing. All right, we're back on. Hello, all. Thank you for joining us for the February 15th SBC meeting, 6 p.m. To place on file remote participation. Moved. Second. So we're a little light on the quorum. We won't be able to take any votes. The next agenda item was to accept the minutes for the January 18th meeting. With no quorum, we can't vote on that.
And do you have my name in there?
We do.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, we're well short. We what do we got for? We'll do a roll call right now.
Manager Golden, Michael Vaughn,
He's here.
Connie Martin, Dr. Boyd, Richard Underwood, Michael Fiato, but I believe Miss Dr. Rothschild is his representative today. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm here on behalf of the high school.
Okay, thank you. Connor Baldwin,
Present.
Mark Byrne.
I think I saw him on
Okay.
the Zoom.
Um,
He's at the door.
James Hall, Mayor Chow, David Peasley, William Samaras,
Yeah.
Senator Kennedy,
Yeah.
Counselor Leahy,
I was about ready to text you, but I didn't want to admit I was lost.
Representative Elliott,
We'll add there.
Mary Ann Manzi. Jay Mason. Maria Sheehy. Benjamin Opara. Erica Harvey. John Haley.
And Mr. Clerk, just for the record, we have Dr. Boyd and Mr. Hall joining us here in the conference room.
Thank you. That makes 1, 2, 3,
And
Eight-
I
8
see
present.
Representative Elliott is on the Zoom as well.
That makes 9 present.
So 9 present, we won't have enough for a quorum. So we'll kick it to Suffolk for the presentation.
And let me just share my screen. Okay, so for phase 2 right now, from our last meeting, we started off, January 17th was the first 4 columns of steel that we had installed. So in the last month, I'm sure if you drive by Arcan Drive and Father Morissette now, you'll see that the steel's flying by on the new freshman academy. So the milestone for February for this month is we continue structural steel at Building F, which is the freshman academy. We're also looking to start the structural steel at Building D in the back right here. So you'll be seeing that coming up. I believe our milestone was February 24th. And then also a couple of other milestones in February. We're looking to have our first deck turnover tomorrow, which is at the North Connector, the new main entrance, this area right here. And then we're also gonna complete the concrete foundations at Building D and looking to continue with the underground MEPs. And then looking ahead into March in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna begin our first concrete slab placement and the North Connector. And then also just continuing with the structural steels in Building D on this section right here. And just looking ahead into April, we will be substantially complete with all structural steel between the North Connector, Building F, and also Building D. And then you're going to start seeing that the exterior framing and sheathing will also start. So that way we can start with the facade work. And then in the next couple of slides, I'm going to show some updated photos. This was taken this week of the structural steel at Building F, the Freshman Academy, and the main entrance, which we call the North Connector, this section right here. This is just another view from inside our job site. You'll see the main entrance, North Connector right here, and then the Freshman Academy, Building F. And this is just another view as well. Our steel erector Action Steel have been phenomenal to work with. They've been just flying along quite fast, actually. So we're probably going to have Building F complete. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have Building D in this section right here starting February 24th. And then moving on to the MBE, WBE. So right now we're still holding pretty much the same percentage from last month. Our total construction female workforce was holding at 3.6%. And then the minority workforce is 24.9%, which is actually exceeding our goal. And then the total construction Lowell residents were at 10.7%. Any questions regarding schedule or MPE? Okay, we'll move on to designer update.
Thank you, Pana. We do not have any updates at this time.
Okay. Moving on.
Could I ask a question? Excuse me, could I ask a question? Just, with this construction and the student body, being present, Have there been any safety issues, any concerns?
No, Mr. Smaris, not at the, nope, there's no safety concerns.
Okay. I mean, no, the work seems to be going along well. I just want to make sure that, whatever all steps are being taken, naturally, it does happen, but the thing is, I just want to make sure all steps are taken to ensure that.
Yes, when we have any major deliveries, we always have a police details at the gate just to man. And then we also have blackout delivery times. So between like 7:30 and 8:30, when the students are arriving, there's no deliveries at all. And also the same in the afternoon when they're leaving.
Actually, that's really the question I was leading to. That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to budget, Skanska.
Good evening. As always, the main thing we're tracking is the construction contingency, which the original was 21.2 million. We're currently at 20,037,721, which is that is tracking comfortably because we want to finish with plenty of this left over. That's the main number we're tracking right now, that everything's bought out. We're very comfortable with how that number is tracking. If you see below that, we're currently processing $1.1 million worth of changes. Just because they're submitted does not necessarily mean they're going to be approved. Suffolk gives a thorough review of changes and pushes back on the subs. And then Perkins Eastman, Skanska, and Perkins Eastman's consultants take a thorough review, and takes a couple months to get these through as they are thoroughly processed, making sure everything is absolutely legitimate additional costs. And we can move on to the next slide.
Excuse me. On that, that's good information. I mean, how do we ensure that we provide that information for the general public? Do you know what I'm saying? These are the things that people want to hear or try to understand, especially when you're talking about contingency money. You see my point? When you're able
These presentations are posted on the website every month after this meeting.
How do we go beyond posting? Is there a possibility of that?
We can work with the city manager's office on developing a way to further inform the public.
Okay. Thank you.
And the overall budget, this is a summary of the entire budget, which is about 100 lines. That gets sent. Monthly update is sent to the city. In fact, that went over to Mr. Baldwin this morning with the January invoices. The invoices for the month of January were $4.2 million. Our total amount invoiced to date is 117 million. You'll see that it says the invoice net is 113 million. That's because the Suffolk's invoice, there's 5% retainage on the subcontractors and Suffolk. So the total that has gone out the door to date is 113 million, even though they've put 117 million dollars worth of work put in place. Again, this is tracking appropriately, and actually, if you don't spend enough money, that is of concern, which we keep our eye on the cash flow, because to put the work in place, you have to spend the money, and everything is proceeding correctly. Move on to.
Can I ask a question before you move on, please?
Sure, Senator.
Yeah, just quickly. So the contingency is, we've used about 10% of the contingency so far?
Actually only about 5%.
5%, okay.
1.1 million on 21.
Okay. And where do you think in terms of the whole construction project, how far along do you think we are in on a percentage basis?
34%. We report that to the MSBA. I don't have that number at hand. I believe we're at about, Pana, does that sound right?
That sounds about right. I was just gonna try to find it as well.
34%? Is that
Correct.
that's what you're saying? Okay.
Yes,
I guess you probably anticipate that most of the contingency would be used up in the 22 building?
The most challenging construction will be the renovation, which would be the 80, the 22, and certainly the 1892. I know, once we get into the area above the auditorium, is quite intricate, and we can foresee spending, our pace will pick up on spending contingency when we get in that building, but as you can see, we're in a good place for now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next steps are is keeping an eye on the construction progress. The steel will be completed, as Pana said, in March into April, and MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, is already progressing. In the underground, they will start rough-ins, and we are proceeding well. I'd open it up to questions.
Thanks, Jim. Anybody have any questions?
Hi, Sean, I'd have a quick question. Are you running into any supply issues when it comes to MEP? Any of those trades?
no, not at the moment. The good thing was, most of our mechanical and electrical equipment, we already released on phase 1, and they're all stored right now. So right now, we're not running into any of the supply chain issues from like the previous couple of years.
Okay. Do you
And even-
anticipate, are those chains sort of stabilizing at any level? I'm just, thinking ahead for, for costs, and I guess a follow-up to that would be, with the contingency fund, is that part of covering any unanticipated costs when it comes to supply?
It's the responsibility of the subcontractors for what we've bought to supply at the cost that they bid it at. So we actually have had some subcontractors come back to us looking for additional funding, which has been rejected because the contract is quite clear that they are not entitled to escalation. We've also, as Pana said, we've had a lot of subcontractors pre-purchasing items. There's major electrical equipment, HVAC equipment in storage with the subcontractors that won't be installed for a couple of years, which is a good position to be in, given that some of those things, there are supply chain issues, but they're buying well in advance, even though the roofer has purchased roofing materials well in advance to avoid those issues.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
Keep your eyes on the road, Rep. Elliott. Anybody else have any questions?
Are we at the end?
We are.
We are.
If I could, just a suggestion, maybe when these meetings are scheduled, some thought should be given to whether the school committee's having a meeting at the same time. Since there's probably 3 or 4 people from the school committee and that would be at the school committee meeting, that would be at this meeting.
Dr. Boyd and Jim Hall are here.
Right.
They're present right here. But yes, there is a school committee meeting at 6:30.
Right.
Sean, if I might, I just wonder if anybody on the committee would like to suggest maybe another date, or moving forward, if there's maybe some other dates that work better for members of the committee. I don't know, Senator, if that's kind of what you're suggesting, but I think that might be something worth discussing.
I guess what I think, Connor, is like, I think the school committee meets every other week, so maybe if it was next week, then Wednesday would be fine, but just when they're having a meeting, since there's several people that are on this committee that also serve in some capacity at the school committee meetings, you just might give some thought to it, that's all.
Well,
Maybe we could send out a poll to the members of the committee to coordinate some times and perhaps, utilizing Zoom and in person, we might be able to coordinate some better scheduling issues.
No, I think the senator's brought a good point. Wednesday's okay. It's just don't do it on a school committee night.
I think we had been in sync with the off Wednesdays. I think this is the first one that we landed on a school committee Wednesday. We can get back in sync with the off Wednesdays.
So the March meeting we'll make sure it's an off school committee week.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.